Salukis 8-2 in their last 10 games, and the hard thing to believe, it's Valley play this weekend against the Valpo Beacons. Here to preview Valpo and talk about this recent stretch for Saluki baseball is none other than Coach Rhodes. Coach, congratulations. I know a really good weekend against Jacksonville State, and you just wrapped up two midweek games where I know defensively and the errors stacked up on Tuesday, but your group responded really well last night, being able to get the win on Wednesday.
Yeah, and tough midweek too as far as traveling down to Arkansas State. Coming back, I didn't get in bed until 2 a.m. Turn around, play again that next night. Again, I don't know what the best way to do it is traveling there first, playing at home, or playing at home, traveling. Either way, our guys responded in a very positive way after, really just kind of giving a game away on Tuesday where if we didn't make some of the mistakes that we made, we were right there in that game. Plenty of opportunities in several innings offensively to get a big hit and kind of push us within a run. But it comes down to a lot of, times when you lose, it's not necessarily what the other team does. It's how you play. And we just played so poorly on that night. But it was nice to see our guys come back and really just, play despite what had happened the previous day. And it was nice. A lot of times on midweeks, you kind of got to sit on it for a couple days. And, that was probably one of the worst games that we've played in a really long time. And instead of having to wait until Friday to play, man, it was so nice to be able to just wake up the next day and kind of get that out of your system.
And not only get it out of your system, but now that you went through those two games, Coach Rhodes, how do you feel you made it through just in terms of health-wise, pitching-wise, guys you wanted to see get in certain situations? Because now you set up for, of course, important weekends the rest of the way with league play.
No, I think, Combs getting off to that good start yesterday. We wanted to use just minimal pitching on Wednesday in order to set ourselves up for success on the weekend. And nice to see him go out there and get us into the fifth inning. And then Shane threw the ball extremely well. And then we needed, Gertie and Prawn to get some touches on the mound because they hadn't gotten enough in the last week. So everybody's pitch count was low over the, course of the midweek outings. And, we're full go on the weekend. Everybody's good, healthy, ready to go. And, we've kind of got the rotation lined up. And, it's just about going out and executing and playing well. And it's nice. I think the Valley play is coming at a really good point where, we had a pretty good extended period of time to kind of figure out our team, figure out roles, figure out, where we need to put guys. And then, now that Valley plays here, it's that time of the season where it kind of gives you that extra boost. Not that you ever need that, but it is nice in the middle of a season to kind of, okay, there's just a little bit more meaning to every single game that we play on the weekend now. And, that was kind of the message to our team after last night's game don't ever take a Valley game for granted, because everything that we do starting Friday, we have an end goal in mind for where we want to be at in the tournament, seeding, when we want to play, who we want to play. And even though that seems so far down the road in our minds right now, everything that we do starting Friday is going to directly correlate to what we want it to be in a couple months from now. And, we don't want to be in a position where we're like, man, we just, when we're in May, we're going to be looking at every game saying, okay, if we do this, we're going to be this. But we don't want to take a game off, coming up soon, because it's going to reflect how we, position ourselves in the tournament. And so every game is super important. And, we just got to show up, take care of our own selves, and play well. And I think the league's going to be a dogfight this year. I really do. I think it's probably top to bottom the most competitive that it's been since I've been here, with the, just the amount of teams, not only that have a chance to win the league, but the amount of teams that have a chance to beat you or win a series against you is probably as good as it's been.
Well, and keep in mind, too, Coach Rhodes, that I think there's 4 teams in the league right now that have won 8 of their last 10. So there's 4 hanging into this weekend, the opening weekend of conference series, and it's not like anybody in our league is playing really soft schedules. I mean, they have 4 teams going into the opening weekend of league play at 8-2 in their last 10. You being one of them, that speaks volumes, I think, about the league so far.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a very old league right now. A ton of players that have a ton of experience, and when you look at it, there's going to be a lot of pitching staffs that get really pressed on weekends against some of these offenses that we have. And it's going to be interesting weekends. It really is. I mean, there's, you look at the top of the league, and again, I don't want to, discredit anybody in the middle or bottom of the league. I mean, I think there's some teams there that are going to be playing, well enough to position themselves into good seedings, and they can definitely win series from teams. But when you look at some of the top teams and the offenses that they possess, I mean, it's some tough lineups to navigate through, and it's going to be interesting, man. It really is. I like I said, I think from 1 through 6 or 7, it's, I think, kind of a toss-up right now on who potentially could win the league. Whenever, the previous probably 2 or 3 years, there's been like 2 or 3 teams that you're like, man, they really have a chance to win the league. When now that gap is bigger, and I think there's more teams throughout the league this year that can win a series from you.
Kind of focusing back on your group, Coach Rhodes, one of the things that you point out was you really like where your rotation is at, and you switched it up this past weekend. We talked about what Aiden did. I mean, to get pitcher of the week was so well deserved, and how he pitched on Sunday. What is it about the way it's set up right now that it fits to each guy's strength that you believe? And we all know as we go throughout the year, too, there's going to be bumps in the road as you go throughout. Not every start's going to be perfect. But what do you like about the way your rotation at least sits right now as you go into league play?
Well, Mike, he's got a good history of throwing on Friday nights. Now, a lot of that was prior to his surgery where he was on our Friday night roll. So he can handle that. There's a different pressure about it a Friday night. Not that it's overbearing or anything like that, but when you step on Friday night, it's got that electric energy. The weekend's just starting, and he can handle that because he's done it before. He also has the ability to be able to do it. The good thing is the way it's kind of been set up so far is, we've had our Friday night guy, we've had Dermody kind of right behind him where we got that piggyback combination on Friday. Combo that with our bullpen arms. So I like where our Friday is at. We've got a good balance of being able to split it up with right, left, right, with Al throwing on Saturday there in the middle. And then, with Fuller on Sunday, what we saw last Sunday is what we've seen out of him for an entirety of his career here in preseason in the fall. And when he throws to his capability, which I think we're going to see more and more of that, we've got a Friday night guy throwing on Sunday. And I like that matchup every single, opportunity that we get to put him up against somebody else's Sunday starter. He has the ability to go out there and beat that opposing pitcher. And so, again, will the rotation stay set in stone? Maybe, maybe not. But it's in a good place right now. Our bullpen's in a good place right now. We've got guys that are coming out in specific roles out of the bullpen that are really doing well in their opportunities. And I think over, the last probably month, man, our pitchers have been doing an incredible job. And, you look at kind of where we sit in league play with our pitching staff. I mean, they've made incredible jumps from where we were 2 weeks into the season. So I'm proud of what those guys have done. And, again, I think we're in a pretty good spot as a complete group there on the staff.
One of the guys that you talked about at length on Sunday when we were wrapping up the series against Jacksonville State, and, of course, he's continued to have a really good midweek, is Cole Chrisman, and what he's continued to fight through and continue to battle through. I think now 4 straight multiple-hit games. Of course, he likes it at home now because all he does is hit grand slams, it feels like. But expand on what he's had to fight through, to push through, and to get himself now to this point, because it's really looked like over the last 2 weeks, Coach Rhodes, that he is about as good as he's looked all year.
Yeah, I think this is what we would have seen from Cole from the beginning of the season. He obviously, you can see his starts. He missed 2 weeks. But it wasn't just that he missed 2 weeks. I mean, he literally did not take a live swing until we just threw him in a real game. He had an abdominal strain. So, all he was able to do was just receive the ball. He wasn't taking any at-bats. So whenever he started playing, all those at-bats, the timing, seeing, pitches, having to make a decision, swing, yes, no, all those things were in a game that actually meant something that, we needed, performance out of. And that's just not a realistic thing to say, hey, somebody's just going to get thrown into the season and probably going to just be ready to go. And, our guys in the preseason had about 40 at-bats prior to them opening up a season. And as you see where Cole's at right now, he's in that range of where our guys were when they started the season at Northwestern State. And so I think it's just, the timing's getting there. He's recognizing pitches better now. He's swinging at better pitches. Because we know as an athlete, as a competitor, every single time you get thrown in there, whether you've had at-bats, you're having at-bat, you're wanting to do something well for your team in order for there to be success. And I think it's just a situation where it's just he's in that timing of his at bats to where he's feeling comfortable, and as he's feeling comfortable, obviously the results have been there, and I think there's a couple other guys who still are scuffling a little bit. That if we can get them going at the same time, it turns into a pretty scary offense.
Well, let's look towards Valpo this week. This is a Beacon team that really, regardless of where they've been and Southern has been, it's been a very competitive series between these two teams ever since they've joined the Missouri Valley Conference. But one of the areas I think that's always been impressive about what Valpo's done with Coach Schmack is he's kept a really good core intact through the years. Where have you seen Valpo improve throughout the year and really throughout the years, Coach Rhodes, since you've joined? And you look at their schedule this year, I know disappointing weekend for them against Alabama where all those games only played 7 innings, but then over the weekend against Campbell, a nationally ranked team, they were really in all 3 games.
Yeah, I think the one thing that they do they always pitch. They always run out a handful of arms where you're like, man, I would love to have that guy on my pitching staff. And, they got a couple scary hitters in there. Schmack's kid's a very good offensive player. They've got an infield that's been around for a long time. So I think that maturity. You look at their games. They've come out on the losing end on quite a bit of them, but they're right there. They have a chance to win. Pretty much every single game that they're playing in. They've kind of moved their rotation a little bit too, but they've got some guys that, again, every single year they pitch. And I think it's going to kind of be the theme of our Valley play this year. If you don't show up, they're going to be good enough to beat you. So it's going to be like that with every single team that we play in Valley play. That's why it's so important to show up and be ready to play and play well every single day. Because if you don't, you'll be looking up and you'll lose that game. And they're a talented team. I'm glad we're at home. We have not played well in the past up there at their place. It's a tough place to play, but it's nice to play them and play them at home to kick off our play.
Talking to Coach Schmack this week too in preparation for our television broadcast this weekend. One of the areas where Valpo, when they came into the league, you could tell defensively is where they struggled. And now since they've improved their turf, they've improved their facilities, this is a Valpo team that has improved a lot defensively. And a lot of that, too, is tied into what you said, too, is they have a lot of guys. They have a very experienced infield, which that helps. But with their improvement in the facilities and all the program upgrades, you can tell that's had a correlation with their team.
Oh, no doubt. And, obviously facility improvements helps you get better players. And they've had some talented players in there. Their shortstop this year has been there, it seems like forever. I think he's been in the league longer than I have.
He's married now.
Yeah, and he's defensively he's one of the best shortstops in our league. And then Hannah's at third base is a very good defensive player. So their left side defense is very good. But yeah, they're again a very competitive team. And like you said too, for some reason they play us extremely well. I think every series that we've played against them has been just back and forth, hard fought. So I don't expect it to be any different. Obviously, they're going to have that same kind of energized feeling as it gets into conference play, where it's got that new season feel to it, so to speak, and so I'm sure they'll be ready to go too.
I know it really doesn't necessarily change from weekend to weekend. I think you look at both of your teams. What you've been really good at, Coach Rhodes, is drawing base on balls, getting on base, so really capitalizing on the free passes. Valpo, for the most part, has been really good at limiting them until the weekend against Campbell. Their walks were really high in that series. I think they walked 27 in that series. They only walked 34 on the year. How big is free bases really going to be in a determination of really this weekend of where you guys can take this series, or also from a Valpo perspective too?
Yeah, I think where we've got to continue to do the good job is when you look at where we've kind of scuffled offensively is that we've been trying to hit our way out of that slump, and we've got to be able to hit pitches inside the strike zone. If we go outside the strike zone, we're not going to hit our way out of anything. And it doesn't, that's the thing that we were trying to preach to our guys this week. It doesn't matter how we get on base. It's just how, do we get on base and then do we cross home plate? And if we can continue to take those walks as we're, not feeling great offensively, take a walk, take a hit by pitch, however you get on, you just start to feel better about yourself because you got on base, you scored a run, you feel like you did something positive, and then all of a sudden the hitting kind of catches up. It's just the way it works. And if you don't have that mentality and you're just in there just trying to hit, well, it seems like, man, you chase this, you chase that. It's, bad contact here, and then all of a sudden it just kind of spirals on you. So for us, it's if we get a good pitch over the plate, we want to put a good swing on it. We want to do damage, but we also want to do damage on pitches that we know we can and not just try to hit our way out of some of these guys that are kind of scuffling a little bit right now. And the big thing is we just got to get back to being a good fastball hitting team. You look at every offense in the country, everybody hits good fastballs. Nobody hits good breakers. Nobody hits good changeups. If pitchers execute well, we're going to swing and miss. We're going to, hit some balls that aren't hard contact, and that's okay. That's just part of the game. But every good hitter, they hit good fastball strikes. And I think a couple of our guys right now over the last probably 2 weeks have been kind of caught in the middle where, the fastball, we're late on the fastball, we're early on the changeup, we're early on the breakers, and we got to get back to the mentality of, okay, I know what the strike zone is. Once I see a fastball in that strike zone, I'm going to let it eat. I'm going to have a good approach. I'm going to get a good swing off and not missing those fastballs because that's what we were doing early in the year. And once we get kind of back to that mindset, we'll be okay.
Coach, there's no better time in the spring than when Valley baseball starts because it's such a competitive league, as we talked about, and these games are so much fun to call. I'm looking forward to this weekend here at home against Valpo. It's going to be a fun series. It's going to be great weather this weekend, so for Saluki Nation that's out and about, make sure they can make time to come see your team play this weekend. Coach Rhodes, appreciate the time as always, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate you having me. Hope we have a great crowd, and it's a great opportunity to come out and see our guys play. And, like you said, I mean, the league's going to be incredibly competitive this year, so it'll be a good brand of baseball to come out and see us play.